Hi, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are in this planet called Earth. I have survived, but many did not. In fact, there's an estimation that 1 billion animals, 1 billion animals, could have died in the Australian fires 2019-2020. Now, this is an important amount, knowing that Australia has a unique biodiversity that does not exist in other places in the world. It is a shocking figure. I just want to make a quick recap about what happened. It's been an unprecedented fire. Never so much territory has been burned for such a long time and so simultaneously, creating so much devastation. Around 20 million hectares have been burned. Now, to give you an idea of what this means, 20 million hectares would be the surface of a country like, for example, Hungary. A whole country like Hungary has been burned. New South Wales, Victoria, and Queensland have been the areas mostly affected. 2,000 homes approximately have been burned. Now, ecologists fear that some species that were already in danger could have been driven to extinction. NASA estimates that the number of dead koalas could be as 25,000. 25,000 of my kind. These fires have been devastating for them. Thousands of animals escaping to save their life. Numerous regions under the state of emergency have been burning out of control. Now, let's just focus for a second in why this has happened. Now, I think that we can all agree that what has happened and the way it's happened is not very normal. What has triggered the over-exaggeration, the continuity, and the expansion of these fires is the terrible 2-year drought that this country has been suffering. We have had record-breaking temperatures that has recently been amplifying the disaster. The early summer of 2019 has been the hottest on record. Now, it is true that here in Australia, bushfires are not very uncommon. In fact, Australia is one of the most fire-prone countries on Earth, and bushfires form part of the natural cycle of its landscapes. Generally, they start in January, at the beginning of the year. But this year, it started in September. Trust me, they are quite normal here in this country. I know. The key point is the following. These big events are always linked to periods of extreme drought. And guess what? Climate change is considered very, very extremely likely to have contributed to the severity of this event. Recent projections suggest that fire seasons are going to start much earlier and end slightly later. Generally, they'll be more intense. More drought, more vulnerability. This effect will increase over time, but it's going to be observable by 2020. 2020 is going to be observable. That is today. It's going to create something called above normal fire potential. Above normal fire potential. So that means it's going to be easy to have fires. Factors such as climate trends, weather patterns, vegetation management by humans. This can all contribute to the intensity of bushfires. Low relative humidity, strong winds, all combine to create ideal conditions for the rapid spread and expansion of fires. And this is all triggered by climate change. In fact, a study in 2018 conducted at Melbourne University found that the major droughts of the late 20th century and early 21st century in southern Australia are likely without precedent over the past 400 years. So this has probably never happened in 400 years. This episode, what has happened, could become the norm. Now, let's just see what's going to happen now. Decades and more decades will have to pass for ecosystems to recover in order to provide food and shelter for life. Remember that animals, like myself, depend on nature every single second. It's actually our house, our place, our environment. We need it. Without trees, without vegetation, without leaves, we cannot survive. It's as simple as that. 25% of my kind could have disappeared. That is family, friends that I will never ever see again. I consider myself a climate refugee. I am a climate refugee. You see, animals that generally survive a bushfire could still find a suitable habitat in the immediate vicinity. But this is not the case when an entire distribution is burnt. And koalas, like myself, are perhaps the most vulnerable because they are slow moving. We don't move very fast. In extreme fires, we tend to climb up the top of the trees and we become trapped. I want to be fair. I want to be fair and say that this is no one's fault. Or perhaps it is. But acknowledging what has happened and why it's happened and doing something about it is the minimum expected. Ask the firemen. They have never ever seen anything like it. Now, let's just resume the energy and climate policy that this country has. In Australia, the energy system is mainly based on coal, which is terrible. Terrible. This country has been ranked worst in terms of policy and 6th worst overall out of 57 countries that have been assessed on the Climate Change Performance Index. It is the biggest exporter of coal and one of the biggest CO2 emitter per capita in this world. Now, with this on account and knowing our geographical situation, rest assured that Australia will see climate change sooner than any other country. The worst phase of climate change will probably be seen here. Reducing CO2 emissions is not enough. We need serious adaptation plans. Unfortunately, predictions say that fires will be more intense, start before, and will remain for longer. This is a prediction and is almost a fact that we're already seeing. I do not personally want this to happen again, but if it does, we need to be prepared. We need to be prepared to act much more efficiently and faster. Now, I don't want to end the video without thanking. I want to say thanks to the 2 primary firefighting agencies for New South Wales, the Fire and Rescue New South Wales and the New South Wales Rural Fire Service. This formed a primary response to the fires. Also, the international aid. At least, it is still good that in these cases there is still some kind of humanitarian response. There are plenty of things to do. But from now on, I will be the Climate Change Koala. I am the Climate Change Koala, and I will be talking about fires in Australia. I will be talking about natural and climate disasters, about the energy transition and international agreements. I will be talking about our planet, which should be a marvelous place to be for all of us all. Let's keep making this world great again. Thank you.